Hello everyone, it's been a little while, but I'm finally back with another Hitbox video. And what better way to get back into the swing of things with taking care of some unfinished business. I believe in a past video I had claimed that I had covered every single DLC character. And sure, while I guess technically Plant is a DLC character, he really doesn't feel like one. Not being part of the Fighter's Pass and just being underwhelming on most fronts. He doesn't really capture the essence of DLC, if you know what I mean. But regardless, like most plants, I guess he would enjoy some time in the sunshine. So let's give him that. Today's hitboxes were created by Eyedonutz, who also helped out a lot doing the research and stuff, so big thanks to him for that. As always, if there's a character you want me to cover in a future video, leave a comment about it and I'll consider it for next time. Either way, let's begin. Plant's jab is quite standard. The first hit simply consists of 4 hitboxes, but effectively there is only 3. He just kind of slaps you with his leaf before it leads into the second part of the move, where he once again slaps you with his other leaf, now with slightly different hitboxes. After this, you can choose to go into the final hit or into the rapid jab. The normal hit is pretty okay, covering all of Plant's head and, body? The rapid jab consists of a lot of bites with some big but kind of off-center hitboxes. After this, there is a launcher hit, which is like many other launcher hits, quite overcompensated to make sure it connects. F-tilt is about as simple as it gets. The first part is just a singular hitbox that keeps them in place for the second hit. Then the second hit simply launches them away. The size is quite average, just kinda covering what you would expect. In other words, not too interesting. However, this is a pretty good time to bring up a bizarre quirk with Plant's hurtboxes. For some reason, Plant's lips have their own hurtboxes, and during certain parts of moves, those hurtboxes are intangible. Now, despite being strangely specific, it might sound well and good, but the problem is that the lip hurtboxes are pretty much entirely covered by the head hurtbox, making them quite pointless. During his F-tilt this is the case. I mean, they do give some slight margin of disjoint, but it's really nothing I would call significant. It's an odd thing, but I guess free intangibility is free intangibility, regardless of how trivial it might be. Next up is down tilt, which has 4 hitboxes. The ones the farthest away deal more damage, dealing an astounding 1% more damage, truly being the deciding factor separating the good Plant players from the great. All the hitboxes launch up, and if you're lucky, you might even be able to get a follow-up afterwards. Another strange thing about this move is the fact that the move has a 40% trip chance, despite the angle not ever allowing the move to actually trip, which just further adds to the strategic mastery of the move. This is actually surprisingly common for some moves, so I doubt it's the last time we're gonna see it. Up tilt is an interesting move. Yet again we have the lip intangibility, however this time it's accompanied by actual head intangibility, which makes it pretty redundant. I mean, my real gripe with this really is just why they felt the need to give him lip hurtboxes in the first place. Like, was that really necessary? Aside from that, the movie's actually pretty alright. It has a lot of active frames and it covers a fair amount of area in total. The lower hitboxes are weaker, with the head hitbox dealing 2% more than the others. It's also pretty low on end lag, so you might even be able to get a combo out of it. It certainly looks like one of Plant's better moves. Plant's dash attack is pretty good, all things considered. It has a lot of active frames, which is pretty much all a dash attack needs to begin with. The hitboxes are pretty good, covering a lot of Plant in front of him and also covering a lot of his body. After a while the move gets a little weaker, dealing less damage and knockback. The move reminds me a lot of Snake's dash attack. You know, a pretty bad version of Snake's dash attack, without all the intangibility and spread out hitboxes. But hey, that's still a pretty good dash attack by most standards. Plant's grabs are actually pretty good, you know, especially for someone who doesn't actually have arms. They're quite standard, but I've seen quite worse in my day. He doesn't really get too much off of them, but in all honesty most characters in Ultimate kinda don't, so it's not really a big deal. Okay, since I kinda don't know where to put this, I'll just talk about it here. Plant has a unique footstool attack that only triggers if he is footstooled while crouching. If this very specific and impractical requirement is fulfilled, then Plant will perform the attack kinda like a counter. The hitbox is pretty great, but if you can actually somehow do this, then you kinda deserve it. It's almost completely intangible, only the lower part being unaccounted for. It's a great hitbox on a move you will never land. Plant's Nair is the standard multi-hit Nair we all know and love, and it works pretty much like most of them. It has 2 hitboxes, one for each, arm? Leaf? The hitboxes simply keep you in place until the launch rate comes out. From what I know, the move mostly works fine, but like any multi-hit, there's always a chance it might drop. Forward air has 2 hitboxes, a sour spot and a sweet spot, dealing 2% more damage. The hitboxes are also pretty good, lasting 3 frames and for once actually being fairly disjointed, something that seems to be a rarity when it comes to Plant. Aside from that, there really isn't too much to say about it. I do have to say that so far Plant's hitboxes have been kinda boring. Again, they're really not the DLC tier hitboxes we're used to seeing. And even just for a normal character, they're just kind of underwhelming. But we still have some to go, so let's not lose heart yet. Speaking of disjoints, I don't think we're going to be seeing much better than back air. It's, well, just a single hitbox. It's pretty big though. I mean, it better be pretty big seeing how it comes out on frame 14. But hey, it's actually a real disjoint for once, and a pretty powerful move when it actually connects, so we'll take it. Plant's up air is a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, it looks fine on the surface, but when you look more into it, it gets a bit more complicated. First off, the move has, yet again, just a single hitbox, and it barely covers Plant's head, not giving much safety in terms of disjoints. Now, if that wasn't enough, the move also has a bit of a blind spot in front of him because the move ends so early, leading to the possibility it might miss people who are in front of you. And if all of that wasn't enough, it's not even particularly strong. However, according to my insider on the topic, it's actually pretty good for comboing, so it's pretty great, you know, if you can actually land it. Surprisingly enough, Plant's downer is actually pretty fast, coming out on frame 9, which is actually pretty quick for a downer that actually spikes. The spike hitbox is the one the farthest down, and it actually has a decent disjoint as well. After the first initial frames, the move becomes a little weaker and stops spiking. But it is nice how it lingers out for such a long while, and you even get to keep the disjoint for the sour spot as well. How generous. Alright, let's move on to his specials. Putrid is probably Plant's single best move, and, well, really only one of the actually great moves he has. But with that said, this move is nasty. Plant shoots a spike ball above his head, and he can throw it to the side should he want to, and the ball is pretty much active all the way until it disappears. The hitbox of the ball is really what you would expect. It just covers slightly more than the ball itself, with the spikes on the edges not having a hitbox. But for a projectile that is more than enough. Now if all of that wasn't enough, the move is also really powerful. While hovering, it is a little weaker I suppose when it's thrown. And when it bounces off something, it does lose a lot of damage and knockback. But when it hits, boy does it hit. And it hits pretty often actually. So it's pretty clear why this move is so highly regarded. On the other side, Uppy is a bit of a mess. A mess of hitboxes and angles. The move first starts out with 4 hitboxes that are supposed to keep you inside the move. At least I think they're supposed to. But the ×3 STI multiplier on the hitboxes kinda says otherwise, which makes it so that you'll pretty much fall out of it without even trying. Now combine that with the fact that hitboxes are also constantly entering and leaving the Z-axis, meaning at certain points there are no hitboxes on the sides at all, just makes this move a marvel to look at. Later on in the move the hitboxes change to launch the opponent away, but at the same time there's also hitboxes that try to stun you, so I have no idea what that's about. After that they all just launch you away, so at least that is consistent enough. The movie is needlessly complicated and doesn't really work a majority of the time, but hey, at least the movie's good for recovering, and I guess that's the most important thing at the end of the day. Poison Breath is a bit of a unique move, in the sense that it is one of the fairly low number of moves in Smash that deal no knockback. The move essentially has 2 hitboxes, one in the center and one around that one again. The move is a poison cloud that deals damage to all opponents within it, and depending on the hitbox it deals more damage, with the center naturally being the strongest. There are 2 levels of charge to the move, no charge or full charge. The full charge lasts longer, deals more damage, and is a bit bigger than the no charge version. It's a pretty good move overall. Pretty much any move that lets you move while there is another hitbox active is worth using, even if this one sadly does not actually stun. Now, visualizing Dumby is a bit tricky since the program doesn't really like models stretching and changing around too much. So you'll just have to use your imagination here for a bit. But don't worry, the hitbox is the same and is accurate. The move consists of Plant leaping, charging, lunging, attacking the opponent by stretching and biting. Its hitbox looks like this, and the only part that has a hitbox is when Plant bites. And it's like this regardless of the angle or charge length. During the charging part, the move has 15% heavy armor, and depending on how long you charge it, the farther Plant travels. During the attacking part, he does have head and slight stock intangibility during the bite, which is nice, but it's still a move that is very prone to hurtbox shifting. It also ends the second the active frames end, meaning you will be pretty exposed afterwards. This is a great example of a move that totally would have had like complete intangibility, were Plant a true DLC character. It also would have had like 2 times the hitbox size and probably total super armor during start off, but that is not the case, for better or for worse. Lastly, there is the smash text. Up smash is a bit strange. The first part of the move is 2 hitboxes that are meant to lead into the second hit of the move. However, because they are manual angles, and they have some hitbox overlap, the one hitbox will sometimes override the other, even if that is not optimal for the situation, leading to the move launching the opponent away instead of up, which is obviously not great. Now, the second part of the move is actually pretty good, and the inconsistency of the earlier part only really applies when trying to hit people off the ground. When used as an anti-air or beneath platforms, it's actually pretty good, having a huge hitbox and some actual real intangibility for once. Yeah, couldn't believe it myself. Well, speaking of head intangibility, F-Smash seems to have it as well. The move has 3 hitboxes, a sweet spot and 2 sour spots, with the sweet spot being quite a lot more powerful in this case. As I said, the head is actually intangible during this move, but aside from that the move is pretty okay. It's not super safe or fast, but does pack quite a punch if you can actually land the sweet spot. But in all fairness, that is how most Smash decks work. Then finally we have a run-of-the-mill down smash, being a hit covering both in front and behind plant. However, one interesting thing is how the second hit behind plant is actually stronger than the front hit, which is a thing for some reason. I can't really say I know why they did that, but sure. I have actually seen this on some other smash attacks, but it's not the most common thing ever. Aside from that, the movie is pretty uninteresting, just having decently sized hitboxes that are not too much to brag about. Either way, that is all the Plant has to offer. While Plant may not be my most favorite character ever, I do at least enjoy that they decided to do some wild and wacky stuff with the character, even if that did not directly translate into him being a great character with great hitboxes. But with that, for real this time, I have finished all the DLC characters in Smash Ultimate. Or at least for another 2 months or so. But, until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.